This is a video for the Patreon features vote for February. I'm just going to dive straight in, try and get it done as quickly as possible to get you the information that you need. So the first one is rebuilding the entire player search. So this is kind of what the player search probably looks like for you at the moment. And really what this is about, this isn't about adding a feature or something like this. This is about basically starting doing the whole thing again from scratch. So at the moment, there are some usability issues. Like the results are pretty hard to sort of sift through easily. So this is really, in the results, you'll have basically all the columns available, all the attributes, all different individual columns for every single attribute, for all the stats, for everything you would want. You can easily add and remove any columns you want in the results. And also in the search, it'll work sort of not just a straight flat conditional builder like this, but for the key stuff that you care about, like the attributes, for example, they would kind of will be there, and you just have plus and minuses, so you could easily sort of configure them very quickly, the attributes, and do things like say that you only want, you only need, say, 7 of the 8 attributes that you've defined to match, at least 7 or at least 6 of the 8 or something. So you could set that you want a striker to have good sort of finishing off the ball, I don't know, pace, jumping, heading, I don't know, whatever it is that you pick. But then you could say, okay, well, I set these 10 attributes for my striker, but I only actually need any 8 of these 10 to match, and then return on the results. So you could do stuff like that. So we're really talking about scrapping this sort of widget for search, widget for results, and just having a custom screen that also works well on smaller resolutions for laptops, and sort of just basically makes it easier to not only search for basic stuff, but also to construct more complicated type queries to get to do sort of better data, sort of searching through the data, and also with the results, just to make it sort of a lot easier to sort of sift through your results and get the information that you want to get out of it, so you don't sort of have to do what you do now, which is you got the results and you got to click on every single player to go through them, which is kind of how it works now. So it's a fair bit of work because we haven't really started anything in this front, so we don't really have any wireframes or concept art or anything like that, so it'd be a fairly big old job. If we get some interest in it, but not enough to do it as a result of this vote, but sort of some interest, then we'll probably try and put together at least some wireframing and concept art and stuff like that, so that on the next month we can show some actual, rather than trying to describe what it is that we might do, try and show what it is that we might do. It might be a lot better. We'll see. So the next one is to rebuild the entire mailbox. So at the moment, the mailbox sort of has some usability issues, really. That firstly, all this space isn't used, so that's not really good. And then secondly, it's pretty easy to miss important messages. And thirdly, if you get transfer bid, you really should be able to click accept or reject directly from within the message. You should also kind of be very directly prompted about stuff like that if you've got something you actually need to respond to when you first log in. And then a lot of the mail message definitions themselves could be improved. We could add extra ones in. So this thing is actually for quite a few different stuff. So this is one about improving the quality of the mail message notifications themselves, improving the quality of the user interface, adding more mail message notifications that don't currently exist, and adding some additional functionality to the mailbox as well. So it's quite a few different things. So can show you some concept art here for the mailbox. So this is just ideas. It's not necessarily what it would look like. We'd have to, if we decided we were going to proceed with it, we'd have to go through the task. So this is just some ideas about how it could look. All it is, we decided that if we were going to redo it, it'd be modelled on how kind of your standard email clients work, because pretty much everybody's used email, so everybody's familiar with how they work. So we wouldn't have to teach people how to use the mailbox. It'd be much more intuitive if it was based on email, like Microsoft Outlook or Gmail or something like that. So we basically have different mailboxes, different categories that your messages would just fall into, and your mail messages are probably, I don't know, could have a color coding system or something, and then whenever you've got unread messages in a category, there'd be a little something like this dot or something else to notify you that there are messages there and how many there are, and then you'd click and they would just sort of be there, and then you could potentially have a little toggle to show unread messages as well, and then when you click on the message would be here, and if it's a message from another user, you'd be able to reply directly from here, or if it's a transfer bid or something, you'd be able to accept or reject it from directly within here. So really just trying to properly use all of the space that's available and lay it out better, and really just bring the user's attention much more to the mail messages that they want to read now, and all the clutter, just properly relegate that to the background, but make it available to sort of go back to if you need to go back to it for some reason. So at the moment, it's a pretty big thing. We had quite a few people request it, so we put it in the Patreon vote. It's at the moment, I mean, personally, I think it's one of the, we could continue to sort of improve the current one, but it's become clear to us that this task to rebuild it needs to happen at some point. If it can happen as a result of this Patreon vote, then great. If not, we'll just have to get around to it at some point anyway. So it's there. I know a lot, like I said, it's here because quite a few people have requested it. It's gone in the vote. It really is that simple. So the next one is to rebuild the entire calendar. And at the moment, the calendar, obviously, we've done this already to help. I mean, before this was done, it really was a bit dire in this calendar with all of your different matches all thrown in. At least now you can get visually it obviously doesn't look that brilliant, but the information is at least now easy to get what you need to get for your different squads. So it's kind of, in regards to your fixture information and your results, it's enough, basically. I mean, we could add some bits, but it's functional, what we've got. But this task isn't just about that. It's about enhancing this functionality. It's not just visually, but also what functionality it actually delivers to the game. So I can show. So this is the other one. We got some concept art. So this is really to split it all out to be more like an actual. I mean, we'd still have this other list view of fixtures. So we wouldn't take away the fixtures list and the results sort of list. But this is talking about changing the calendar to actually be more like a calendar where you can scroll back and forward months, and where everything that happens on a given day is recorded in your calendar, or everything that will happen on a day in the future is recorded in the calendar. So your future fixtures are recorded with the times that they'll be. Your results are recorded, and obviously you can link to the match results. Transfers that have happened, coming in or out into your club or going out from your club, will be recorded in here as well. Future transfers that are pending because they happened during the close season and they're going to happen at the start of the next season, whatever, they'll all be in here. And also we would have it so that you could create calendar reminders and things like that. So you could, for example, I might be interested in a player, but the manager, like a superstar 20-year-old player or something, I don't know, and the only manager says, oh no, I'm a youth manager, I'll focus on youth, I'm not going to sell him, not while he's eligible to play under 21. So I'm like, okay, fine. So I'll set a calendar reminder, for the beginning of the season when the player turns 22, and then I could go, pop up in 2 months' time or whatever, and say, oh, you need to, if you're still, maybe you want to check this player out, approach the user again about buying them, something like that. Or calendar reminders for your own players, things like that. Or even it could just be anything, calendar reminders for players, but also calendar reminders just generally for other stuff. So I think primarily it would be focused around players, but I could see the possibility that you could do it, have reminders related to other users or other clubs to remember to ask about something or other, or do something, or remember to release one of your players from his contract or something at some point in time, or remember to transfer list a player that you weren't interested in selling now, but you want to make sure that you remember to sell him for the close season, whatever. I can see there's quite a few things that you would want to potentially set a calendar reminder. They could go into the calendar, and so you'd be basically talking about, and then having filters of what type of information, because with all the different sort of information we could show on the calendar, it could become pretty cluttered potentially. So you would have little filters. You could go backwards and forwards in months. You could create calendar reminders. So it would really just basically be kind of like a calendar, if you want to think of it like that. A real world calendar, I guess, which is the idea here. So moving on, the next one is the squad level filters. So this is just about in your squad, you'd have filters. This was in the last vote. So this is just filters to say these would be selection-oriented filters, not analysis-oriented filters. So this would just be stuff about, okay, I just want to know which players can play this position, or potentially probably age filters and stuff like that. But it'd definitely be stuff focused around selection. Because if you want to do analysis type stuff, like I want to know all of my players who have at least, 18 in balance, or I want to know who could be a potential gymnast or something. So, I can already do that because I can say there's already search filter now if I own the player, and then I can go, obviously, who are Olympic quality gymnast players, and then here we go, I've got my results. So you can already do that analysis type stuff. So so the filters here would just be stuff that's related to the types of things you'd want to know to select players for a match. So this would probably be more stuff to do with what you care about. Are they available? Do they have at least X% condition? Can they play this position? Being able to easily answer those questions that you care about to select players. So the next one is to play friendly matches against bot teams. And now we're starting to get into the mid-range features, I guess. So the first ones that we described with the bigger features, these are the mid-range ones. So these are play friendly matches against bot teams. So basically, I think under the request match, there'd be the ability to play a friendly match against a bot team. We'd have a variety of different bot teams to pick from. At least, I don't know how many, but I'm guessing at least 5 of different standards that have different types of players and play different tactics. And you can play a friendly match, but each bot team will always be the same. So basically they'll act as a benchmark in a way. If you want to just test out a tactic, you can play the same bot team over and over and over again and just try different things out and see what difference it makes against that team. But it will give you a set of different benchmarks that you can test against. The next one is the ability to define your own date format as well as time zone in the settings to be used by the client. So in your settings, somewhere you can define your time zone. It would impact the clock here, and it would impact stuff like your fixture date times and your calendar, and wherever basically the date and the time appears, it would be in your local time. Everywhere in the game, that is, there's quite a few different places. So everywhere in the game where it appears, it would be in your local time instead of in GMT. Unfortunately, it's quite a lot of places that it appears, so it could be quite a bit of work to change all of that stuff. To properly test it. So the next one is different uniform shirt design patterns. So we would rebuild this, and instead you could pick different hoops or stripes or checks or halves or whatever, different shirt designs, and have just different shirt designs, and then a different creator to this, where you can also pick different shirt designs as part of that, and those shirt designs would show throughout the game wherever it makes sense to show them as well, like on the tactics diagrams and stuff like that. We'd have a nice little set of at least 5 or 6 different shirt designs, I'm guessing, as part of this. The next one is group phases in cup competitions. So in things like the Sans Pariel Cup, and I believe the Community Trophy would have it as well initially, we would put in group stages. So I guess similar in structure to how the World Cup works or how the Champions League works. So it'll be group phases, and then the top teams in each group would then go through to a knockout stage. The next one is being able to see what fixtures your league opponents have now. So somewhere in here, there'd just be a widget where you can check, you can drop the drop list with the teams, and you can pick whatever team in your league, and you'll see what fixtures that team's got coming up. So you can see, and potentially their latest results just for that team as well. It's been requested quite a few times actually, so and it was in the last Patreon vote, and it wasn't was a little bit surprising it wasn't chosen almost, really, because quite a few people asked for it. So it's one of those ones that just keeps coming up. Next one is to add trying to find it. So add in gonna need the Reborn Legends, unfortunately, for this. Who do I like? Who do I like in real life? Honestly, it's hard to know. I guess we just have to choose someone that is obviously really good. Robbie Fowler, that's not gonna. It's fine. So, we'd have a YouTube library that would be accessible through here. So, for each wiki player, we'd essentially have an interface that works with users that builds up a library of YouTube clips. You could click on it, and then basically it'd be like watching a series of videos that are all about Robbie Fowler that are really vetted or his screen to make sure that they're high quality, done with the user base working together to build up those libraries for the players. So essentially you could start watching a television station, I guess, in a way, like history of Robbie Fowler, history of this player, history of that player. It'd be a nice little thing to do. Got a couple requests. Can see it's more like an interest thing. Some people would care about it, some not so much. So it's there. It'd be nice to do. Definitely nice to do at some point. And if people want to get it done now, then we'll get it done now. So the next one is enhanced financial information, including chart for the past 28 days. So essentially, this information that you have about the future, the next 28 days, the projected 28 days, you'd be able to see for the past 28 days what actually did happen. So and probably some comparison between what happened in the previous 28 days and what's going to happen in the next 28 days, so you can compare if your club is on the rise or on the fall or whatever financially. So really just some extra financial information. It was in the vote last time. Again, quite a few people asked for it but didn't get voted in. It was a bit surprising by us that it wasn't. So the next one is essentially an extra tab here for friends and the ability to right click on a user and say add friend, and then they'll appear on your friends list. So initially it'd just be a list of users for you to have as friends, but in the future we would definitely plan for these first, whether they are your friend and what their online status is, to do things like affect who you can request friendly matches with and chat to and stuff like that. The next one is show positional information for players on the pitch overlay. So so during a match, on this pitch overlay, you've got this match rating and the conditional percentage, and basically we'll make it so that you can toggle between seeing this information and, instead of this on this bottom row, instead show the positions that player can play. So I can play a striker or right wing, he can play central midfield or right back or whatever. So you can toggle. So, and the same would be for your substitute. So if you want to make a substitution, you can just toggle that quickly. Oh yeah, he can play striker, whatever, throw him in striker, toggle it back, like that. So I think it's be useful. I tend to be able to remember all the positions that all my players can play, but I totally appreciate that. Definitely not everybody could, and for youth squads, particularly the under 18s, I guess that would be super useful still, to make quick subs on the fly without having to sort of go into the lineup tab or check the player profiles or anything like that. So I think that'd be a handy one. The next one is additional columns for squad lists. Additional columns, so basically the ability to have a lot more columns and the ability to configure which ones you want to show. So this would be columns for all of their attributes and other stuff as well, for example. So just so many more columns than you'd ever want to display, and then you can set which ones you want displayed and in what order. The next one is club rankings for under 21 and under 18 and senior ELO rankings. So sort of extra rankings here. So we got clubs by reputation, but basically have rankings for youth clubs by ELO rating and also for senior clubs by ELO rating. And so under 21 ELO ratings, under 18 ELO ratings, and senior ELO ratings. And if you're not sure what ELO rating is, just Google it, ELO rating, and it will be explained. But it's just a number based on the matches. Each match, as you win or lose, each individual competitive match, it will make your rating either go up or down. And it's just a reflection, a different way to measure who the best team is, another way to measure it. And it could be used in conjunction. Like there'd be two different ways to rank the senior teams, but also at the moment there isn't really any way to sort of look and see how your ranking is for the youth team. So it would add that in, and obviously we can look to have more different ways to rank teams in the future. And if this gets put in, we might even try to have a few extra ways to rank the youth and the senior teams as part of this, in addition to the ELO ratings. If it goes in, we'll hopefully try and get another couple ways to rate teams in, potentially, if it gets picked. So the next one is the shortcut keys for navigation and action. So under the settings, you'd essentially be able to define shortcut keys, like for going back or forwards, or should be able to think of to toggle stuff like the attribute progression arrows on and off whilst on a player's profile, to toggle what we just talked about, which is during a match showing the positions or the condition, or to toggle between showing the numbers or the positions on the back of shirts. And to toggle audio, mute it on and off and stuff like that. So just a bunch of shortcut keys to sort of do actions that you would want to be able to do. I know personally, like, it'd be really great if I could easily just hit a key and it would turn the audio on and off on a whim, for example. I'd like that. And then personally, I also would prefer to not have the attribute. I'd prefer to have the attribute progression arrows hidden, but I like to see the information sometimes. So the ability to turn them on with a shortcut key, quickly check it, and then turn it off again. I'd like that as well. But not my vote. Votes for you, obviously. So the next one is the next previous player within squad navigation from the player profile. So this is kind of like from the player profile, essentially the ability to sort of go forwards and backwards, like an up arrow and a down arrow here, to cycle through your next player in this squad, or up and down, so you cycle through the squad, presumably alphabetically. The next one is the injury history widget for a player. So it'll be a widget and it would show their injury history. So it'll be like an itemized injury list, so 1 row per injury they've ever received and the details about it, when it was, what match, who it was against, how many matches they're injured for, that type of stuff. 1 row per injury, so you could easily get access to the injury history of the player. The next one is adding a trophy cabinet widget. So on the profile, there'd be like a trophy cabinet, and each time you've sort of won, each trophy you've won, you'd have it'd be a graphical trophy cabinet, and it would graphically represent all the trophies that you've ever won. The next one is to be able to see how proficient a player is in each position. So you'd see like he was 100%, 100%, 100%, I don't know, whatever that is, 85%, whatever it may be, and 50%, I don't know. But it'll basically show you the percentages when you hover, rather than just the text. In addition to that, it would say what percentage they are proficient. Exactly, so you could see kind of on a day-to-day basis if it was making progress upwards or downwards or whatever. The next one is make cup competitions accessible to view by users even if they are not in that cup. So at the moment, for example, I'm in the Sansperrow Cup, so I can access it here. But for example, I can't access any cups that I'm not in. So I can't access, for example, the Anti-Meridium Cup. Like, you'd think I'd be able to click on the FA Cup here or something and go to look at that cup, but yeah, I can't actually do it anyway. So it's just about adding in the links and places that make sense, like here, to be able to link to view information about cup competitions that you are not in. The next one is to improve the career history widget. So this would be to improve the career history so that there's additional pieces of information, namely details about the transfer fees paid. So if the player was purchased, you'd see exactly that fee was paid for that player when they were purchased. And then also details potentially for some other stuff, like if their contract was renewed from memory. But I think the main thing, there's a few other bits that were just we would just add in if we were to add this, but the main thing that people actually requested was to see the information about the transfers that took place throughout the player's career. So the transfers would appear on this career history widget as an extra column. So the next one is exporting staff data. So hopefully that's self-explanatory. You go to a staff member, that you would be able to export their data just like you can for the players. So you get their details, their age, their reputation, whatever their attribute values. And you'll also be able to export the staff search results and stuff like that as well. The next one is enhance the user list to be able to sort by either username or club name rather than just by username. So it's not great because it's really late now, but it's in beta. But essentially, rather than this list being sorted, you can just toggle whether it's sorted by the club names alphabetically or the usernames alphabetically. The next one is the ability to release a player from their contract even if the player is owned for less than 28 days by paying out their remaining contract. So at the moment you can only release a player from their contract if you've had them for at least 28 days. But this change would allow you to release them whenever you wanted, but if it was less than 28 days, you'd have to pay basically 28 days minus the amount of days that you've had them for so far, multiplied by their daily wage, and it would just prompt and say you can release them, but it's going to cost you this much. Do you want to do it? And then the next one is to change the look of the mouse pointer. So this is how the mouse pointer looks, but if you hover over something like this that can be clicked on, the mouse pointer will visually cue you to change. So in the case where you hover over the player names, obviously the player names change their color, so you know that you can click on them. But in the case of some other stuff like that, it isn't, the tabs, it isn't. Some icons illuminate like that. So really it's just a case of, there's some stuff that illuminates for you, but for everywhere that, like here, it can be clicked, they can be clicked, this can be clicked. So basically just making the mouse pointer just change slightly to let you know what can be clicked on. I think largely it's pretty obvious that what can be clicked on. It's just a little tiny usability change that we could do, and so it's just a small thing really. So thanks very much, thanks for watching this video, and I hope this helps you choose where you want to assign your vote. Thanks.